Hello dear students. On behalf of Vdvs Vidya Sankul, today we are going to start our next e-learning class in standard 8 science, that will be in a crop production and management. Okay? But before we going to start our next topic in the crop production and management, let us see a brief preview on the previous lecture. Okay? What we have earlier studied in this chapter, crop production and management, as we have seen that first we have seen the basic definitions regarding the crop, basic definitions why the food is important in our day-to-day life. Also we have seen why the crop production will be necessary to us and what is the definition regarding the agriculture. Okay, and that we have learned and also we have write in our homework. Okay, now going to the next topics in this chapter. But going to there, let us look at the whole summary of the chapter that we already finished. Okay, we are going to see a step by step. We have seen the crop, we have seen the types of crops. In the basis of the different seasons, the different kinds of crops are available in the market. That will be generally called as the types of the crops. Okay, as we have seen that there are two kinds or three kinds of crops are available in the market. Generally these are called as the Rabi crop, Kharif crops and Zaid crops. Okay, so these are basically considerable due to the different types of seasons or different types of plants that is available during these seasons. That is why it is considerably in a different various parts. Okay, now further we are going to the next topics, that will be we have done that what is the basic definition regarding the food, why the food is necessary to us and why this food is so much important in our life, that we have seen in this chapter. After that we have seen what is the sources of the food. We have seen the different kinds of sources of food. Generally we can consider it the cereals. After that we have seen the maize, bajra, jowar. These are all the different types of cereals or the different types of food that we have seen. Okay. After that we have seen the agriculture's basic definition, that will be the generally a branch of science study that will be considered the farms regarding studies. Okay, we can consider it into the agricultural definition. After we have started the basic definition regarding the crop. Okay, we have seen if a same kind of plant can be grown into a whole large portion of the field, that can be considered as the crop. We have seen the types of crop. Many of the students cannot see the slide in the previous lecture, so that they can see the screen now clearly. If they want to take a photograph, then they pause this video and they can take the screenshot from here. Okay, if they want to. If this time the slide will be clearly showing to you, so you can pause it and you can take a screenshot for it. Okay, so we have seen the types of crops, in which we have seen the Kharif rainy crops, we have seen the Rabi or winter crops, and we have seen the Zaid crops, in which we have seen that in a various season the plant will be available to us, that can be considered on basis of that plant can be considered into that branch. Okay, so when a rainy season come and the plant which will be available to us, that can be considered in a Kharif crop. After that we have seen that the plant will be available in the winter season, that can be considered in a Rabi crops. And we have seen that the growing during the summer season, the plants can be considered in a Zaid crops. It generally required a warm and a wet weather, it generally required cold and a dry weather, and it generally required warm and a dry weather. Okay, so these are the conditions necessary to grow the crops into basis of that seasons. Okay, we have seen that also in a previous lecture. Also we have seen in which of the month the plants will be or the crops will be available to you. Okay, so generally we have to sow Kharif crop into June, July month and harvested into the September, October month. And also we have seen the process of sowing in the previous lecture. What is the sowing process? Generally, if we put the seeds into the soil, then it can, by manually or by artificially, that can be considered as the process of sowing. We have seen the two kinds of methods for sowing. Generally, it is the broadcasting method, and second one is the seed drill. By using the seed drill, we can put the seeds into the soil. Also by doing the broadcasting method, we can put the seeds into the soil. We have seen that in previous lecture. Okay, so you can pause it and you can take the photograph of that. Okay. After that, these are the agricultural implements that is available to you. You need these equipments to do the agriculture, or you need these equipments to do the farming. Okay, that can be easy to understand us. Okay, so these are the equipments: khurpa, spade, wooden plough, soil plank, seed drill, harrow, sickle, sprayer, combine. These are all the equipment that we are using into doing a process regarding the farming or process regarding the agriculture. Then we have seen the photographs of the khurpa, soil plank, harrow, okay, and we have started the studies of agricultural practice, in which we have seen the 2 steps for the crop productions practice. We have seen the preparation of soil, in which we have seen that how can we do the preparation of soil. So for that we need to do the 2 steps. First of all, we need to do the loosening of the soil, and another method is to consider in a preparation of soil, that will be a leveling. So what should we do in this method? We have to do a loosening of the soil. Why the loosening of the soils can be important to us? Because we want to get nutrition to all the seeds that we are putting into the soil. So for that, this will be the necessary condition to loosen the soil. And afterwards, what is the second point? The second point will be the leveling. So we have to level whole ground into a same bit. Otherwise, what happens? Some seeds get the more nutrition and another seeds get the less nutrition from it. So we need to do that process in the preparation of soil. First, we need to do a loosening, okay, so that all the crops can take the nutrition in each and every portion. Okay, then we have seen the process regarding sowing. Okay, I have already told you. Now we are going to start our third step, and the most important, adding manure and fertilizer. So applying manure and fertilizer, but before going on there, we need to understand what is manure and what is fertilizer. Basic study regarding the manure and fertilizer that we have to do. I am writing here. So first of all, before going on there, let us take a brief discussion on the fertilizer and manure. So whenever we are growing a crops into the soil, what happens that it needs the more rich nutritions, more rich minerals into that for growing a crop very efficiently to that or very easily to that. But what happens that if a soil has not enough nutrition, if the soil doesn't get the enough nutrition to give the crops, then what happens? The crop cannot grow there and crop get wasted there. Okay, if we put the seeds into the soil, there were no minerals or there were no nutrition present in the soil, then what happened? If an energy or if a nutrition is not composed within a soil, that it cannot give another. Okay, because if I know something, then I can give you information regarding that. That is works like that. If I doesn't get the information, if I don't know anything, then what should I tell you? So like that, if the nutrition and minerals level, okay, so we can write like that. If a nutrition or minerals level of soil is less, then we need to add something into soil. So now what we are doing, we are going to do a increment of nutrition and minerals into the soil. Okay, so for that we are using the 2 kinds of substance that we are called as a fertilizer and another is called as a manure. Okay, generally what happened in a manure and what happened in a fertilizer, that what are the components, what are the composed component that we are using naturally. Okay, by naturally the composed component that we are using and give it to the soil to increment the level of the nutrition, that can be called as the manure. And what happen in a fertilizer, that the process of doing a manure chemically, if we make the manure chemically using an artificially methods, okay, and then we put it down into the soil, that can be considered in a fertilizer. To increase the level of nutrition into the soil, that can be considered in a fertilizer. Okay, so these are generally the concept regarding manure and fertilizer. Okay, what we need to add, we need to add, if the soil has a less nutrition or less minerals present into that, then we need to add fertilizer or manure into that. Okay, now we are going to start the basic information regarding the minerals and fertilizer. Here you can see that the first concept is given as the basic information regarding the fertilizer and manure. So what is manure? Organic natural substance derived from the decomposition of biological minerals. If an biological minerals is made up from the decomposition of natural substances like it contains the components from the nature, like earthworms, the components which are dead and decaying, and then it get decomposed into the soil, that can improve the level of nutrition into the soil. Okay, then what is the fertilizer? It is the organic or inorganic substance that is made up from the chemically process. Okay, generally it is made from the natural substance and it is made from the chemically process. Okay, in another point we are going to see that contains organic matter in a large quantities. Okay, in this the organic matters are containing in the large portion, so that we can put it into the soil, or that we don't want to put it into the soil, that are only naturally they are going into the soil. So they are going to large quantities. We cannot done with manually, or we cannot made it artificially. In generally organic matter is not present, because here we are going to make the minerals or nutrition component by artificially. So no organic matter or no organic component will be available. You know the organic component or inorganic component, the component which are available from the nature is generally defined as the organic component. Here I am explaining you the generally the components which are available from the nature can be called as the organic component, and the component which are not available from the nature and we have to make them artificially can be considered in an inorganic component. So contains the organic matter in a large quantities, because it is made up from the nature. That is why the manure is a natural based component and the biological materials to improve the level of minerals into the soil. Okay, while the fertilizer can be used artificially, we have make them artificially, so there is no organic material is present into that. Afterwards, in a third point, we have to discuss that contain nutrition in a small quantities and are needed in a large quantities. Okay, generally this contains nutrition in a small quantities, but this required a more quantity to get a less nutrition from it. Okay, while this statement gives us that contains much higher amount of nutrition, because we have made it artificially and now we are required a less quantity because it contains the more nutrition, so we can put the small quantities into the soil that can reach higher level of the nutrition. And they are not nutrition specific, they are nutrition specific because in this we can get the small quantities nutrition. So these are not basically dependent on the nutrition specific, and these are generally basic. We can define that it is a nutrition specific because it contains the more nutrition in a small quantities. They are prepared in a field and village okay, generally they are made up by nature organic components, so it can be produced wherever the farms are available. Generally we can say that in a fields or a village they are produced. They are manufactured in the factories by using the chemical process. Manures are bulky substance, so these are the inconvenient to store, use and transport. Manures is we are getting in a large portion. So if we want to transport them from here to there, we need a transportation more heavier, and also we need a more convenient storage to save them. Okay, otherwise what happens then, manures cannot be stored easily and they get decomposed. Okay, they are first of all they are the decomposed material, but still they get wasted there. Okay, so we need a more storage there, so that we can use it very conveniently if we want to use them. Okay, otherwise we can use the fertilizer, and that is the best thing that is available. But generally this prescribed, the soil's fertility gets reduced in after a few years. Okay, these are available in concentrated form, so these are easy to store, use and transport. We can easily transport and store them. Okay, do not cause pollution, while these cause the water pollution. This is the important point of the fertilizer. Because of the water pollution, and also whenever the soil fertility gets reduced, we can use the fertilizer, but it causes the water pollution. So for that reason we have to use less fertilizer into soil. Okay, because it damages the water, so we have to make sure that it cannot damage the water, because that is not happen once one thing get better and one thing get lower. This is not we want. Okay, we have to make sure that whatever we are using, that cannot cause the natural damage. Okay, whatever the thing that we are using to make our life better, we don't want that one thing gets better and another thing gets reduced. Okay, so for that we need to make sure that no natural substances get damages, whatever the thing which we are using. Okay, now going on a next topic, that will be what is manure and what is fertilizer. We have to see the photographs regarding them. But going on there, you need to write this today's homework. Okay, let us go. What is the homework of today? Yes, you know it very well, that sir will be giving the difference regarding the manure and fertilizer. Okay, so you can write the difference between manure and fertilizer from here. Okay, you can pause the screen, take the screenshot. Okay, whatever you want to do. Now you are a very smart, so you can do whatever the things. Okay, otherwise I will send you this PPT into our group, so you can download it from there. Now these are the photographs regarding the manure and manure spreader. Okay, in next slide we are going to see about the fertilizer. Okay, so these are the manure that will be generally organically made and by using the natural substances. Okay, and these are using like that. Okay, in next slide we can see this is the fertilizer. So fertilizer is used like that. We are using the sprayer for that. Okay, sometimes some of you have seen that in your farms, that your uncle or father or whatever the person that is using the sprayer. So they are what are they doing? They generally give the nutritions or the fertility to the soil, because if the soil doesn't contains the nutrition, then how can crops get the nutrition? So if crop needed much more energy, much more power, much more proteins, much more carbohydrates, what it needs to get it from the soil. So if the soil doesn't get the fertile, then the crop doesn't get the fertile. Okay. Going on a next and the fourth process of the agricultural practices, that will be irrigation. We have talked about it in a first lecture in a brief summary, that what is the irrigation, that if we supply a water into our field, okay, or in our crops, that can be considered in a irrigation system. Generally, process of supplying water to crop plants growing in the field by means of canal, reservoir, wells, tube wells, etc. These are the things that we are using to get the irrigate to crops, okay, to give the water to the crops. These are the things that which we are using to give the water from there and take out the water and give it water to the our crops or our field where our field is has. Water provide essential macronutrition to crop, hydrogen and oxygen. So now why water is required? We know that if an autotrophic nutrition process should happen, if the autotrophic nutrition process wants to happen, then it needs a three basic structure regarding that. What is the first point it needed? Autotrophic nutrition wants the first carbon dioxide that will be present into that, okay, in the atmosphere. What we are releasing in our breathing system, we consume the oxygen and after we release the carbon dioxide. So first the plant needed the carbon dioxide. Another thing that the carbon another thing that crops wanted is the water, which we are putting by irrigation system. And another thing that is most important to do the autotrophic nutrition process is the sunlight. So these three necessarily condition if applicable to the crops, and then only plants can be grown there, okay. Otherwise what happens, these three condition doesn't satisfy there, then the crops can't grow there. So if we want to satisfy this condition, then only we can say that the crops can grow much more efficient and much more nutritions, okay, and it is also gives us the more nutrition, okay. For that we need an irrigation system, and in which three conditions. The second condition we know that it requires the water to produce the glucose, okay. Now the water will be contains by how can we get the water, okay. What are the things that gives us the water? So these are the things that gives us the water, like canals, reservoir, wells, tube wells. These are the things which from which we can get the water. Now from whatever the thing or whatever the equipment or whatever the implantation where we get the water can be considered as the types of irrigation system. So first of all, soil based irrigation, and another is a crop based irrigation. Now what is the soil based irrigation and what is the crop based irrigation? We have to see in that when crop grown in sandy soil require more frequent irrigation than crop grown in clay soil, okay. First of all, we need to understand what is the sandy soil and what is the clay soil. If the soil contains the more portion of the sand, it means wherever you go to the sea, there you have seen the sand, okay. And if the soil, it means the surface of the earth contains the more sand onto that, then it can be called as the sandy soil, okay, in which the nutrition level is much lesser, okay. While clay soil, it means if the soil which are clay, it means the water level is much more into that besides than the sandy soil, okay. So clay soils has a much more nutrition than the sandy soil. So what we have to do, crop grown in sandy soil require more frequent irrigation than crop grown in the clay soil. Why this condition necessary and why this condition satisfy us? That because sandy soil has a less nutrition, less water contents in that. So what we have to do, we have to give the water to that, okay, in a frequent way. Frequent way means we have to give the water in a 5 days, 7 days or 3 days, 2 days, okay. While clay soil contains the much more water level into that, so we can give the water into like 5 days, 8 days, 10 days. We can give the water into that type of time duration, so it doesn't get effect onto the crops, okay. Now what is done in the crop based irrigation? Generally a paddy crop is transplanted in standing water require more water supply as compared to wheat, gram and cotton. This is very easy to understand. The paddy crop needed more water. So what we have to do? We have to give more water, otherwise we cannot grow the paddy crop. So what we have to do, that we have to give more water to the paddy crop, while the wheat, gram and cotton are the crops that needed a less water. So it requires a less water, so we have to give a less water to that. So whatever the crops needed a more water, we have to give the more water if we want to produce them. Otherwise we cannot, otherwise we won't give a water, then nothing will be happen. Okay. Okay, going on the next slide. Basically, in a types of irrigation system, you can write it from here. Okay, the definitions regarding soil based irrigation and crop based irrigation, we have to give it here. Okay, after in a next lesson we are going to see about the types of irrigation system, in which we are going to see about the modern techniques and the earlier days ancient techniques regarding the irrigation system, in which we are going to see about the description of that, and afterwards we are going to see about the photographs regarding that, and then last but not the least we are going to see the videos regarding the types of irrigation in the last lecture. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for reading this lecture. If you had any kind of doubt, you can ask me on the comment section, or you can ask me on a WhatsApp personally, or you can ask me on a by call me. Okay, you have my number already. Till then, bye bye everyone, and take care of yourself.